me bring my crock pot out. We're going to make shepherd's pie soup. All the flavors and ingredients that we love in a shepherd's pie. Make it in a soup. We're going to slow cook it all day. That way our house smells amazing. We're going to start off by browning up some ground beef. So I've got a skillet. We're going to place it on medium-high heat and get that going. We just want to brown that up. I'm going to take my meat masher and break up the ground beef. All right, we're going to take an onion and we're going to chop that up into nice sized dices. So just take off the ends, cut through the outer layer, and just peel that off. There we go. We're going to cut it in half, turn it over, run your knife through, making slices. All right, turn them around. And then you're going to just run your knife through, and that'll make your dices. Just like that. Now I'm using a whole onion. It's a yellow onion. All right, I'm going to add this to the ground beef, and while the ground beef is browning, this will be softening down. All right, the ground beef is browned up, the onions are done. What I'm going to do is just add about a tablespoon of minced garlic in. We're just going to stir this up for about 45 seconds to a minute. Release all the flavor of the garlic. We're going to go ahead and turn off the burner, place our ground beef that we've cooked up into the crock pot. 2 large carrots that I'm going to peel and dice up. And then I've got some yellow potatoes. You can use russet potatoes, you can use red potatoes, whatever you want to use. You need about 1.5 pounds going into the crock pot. So I'm going to go ahead and start peeling these, chopping them up, adding them to the crock pot. We're going to add everything else to it and get it going. Now try to keep all of your dices when you cut your potatoes in the same size. That way it cooks evenly. All right, I'm just going to cut them into 3s. I like to use my chopper here. Just keeps everything the same size. I'm going to finish these up so we can get the soup on. Yeah, look at that. Holds a lot. All right, let's go ahead and peel the carrots, and then we're going to get those chopped up. I'm just going to cut off the ends here. I'm going to add that to the crock pot. All the flavor going in. We've got some Worcestershire, about 1 tablespoon. I'm going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. 1 can of cream of celery soup. This is going to give it that creaminess and flavor. 4 cups of beef broth. 1 packet of brown gravy mix. We're going to blend this all together. We're going to take a block of sharp cheddar cheese. Now this is a white variety, which will be nice in the soup. I'm going to cut this just into pieces, and we're going to add that to the soup. So we're just going to place that on the top and allow that to melt into the soup while it is cooking all day. If you want to cook this on high, you can do that for 3 to 4 hours. Check your potatoes and your carrots and make sure they're tender all the way through. Now you can cook this on low for about 5 to 6 hours. And then there's still a few more things we're going to add at the end that'll make it reminiscent of a shepherd's pie. So stay tuned for that. We have the cheese. It's melted all into the soup. So I'm going to stir that around in there. I have 1 cup of frozen peas. I'm going to go ahead and add now. We do this now instead of earlier. That way they don't get all mushy during the cooking process. I'm going to add 1/3 cup of sour cream. Let's go ahead and stir that all together. We're going to give this a taste and see if we need to season with some salt and pepper. I'm going to stir this around and then we're going to let it sit for about 2 minutes. That will get those peas nice and cooked through. This is done. We're going to sit there and bowl this up. Ooh, doesn't that look good? Or as my bowl says, yummy. Ooh, that's delicious. Felt that going all the way down. It'll warm your belly for sure. Who's ready for a delicious slow cooker hearty steak and noodle soup? We're going to start off with a steak and I'm going to show you how we're going to make it delicious before it even goes into our crock pot. I am using top round steak. This is about 2 1/4 pounds, thinly sliced. Cut these into bite-sized pieces. I'm going to be cutting against the grain of the steak. Now what's good about this recipe is you can use even like a roast. You want to cut it into really small bite-sized pieces. You could even use like a stew meat if you want to do that. I would just cut it down even further than what you get from the store. Now I'm just cutting these into strips and then we're going to go and cut them the other way. And you want like that right there. All right, that looks good. We're going to be cooking our steak in batches. We want to get them nice and crispy on the edges, lock in some flavor and give it a nice color like a sear. That way it looks really good in our soup. So I'm going to take a large Ziploc bag and we're going to add in 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, black pepper, hamburger seasoning, 1/2 teaspoon. Shake that up a little bit. And then we're going to put in 1/2 of the steak. Let me just put it all in there. Got it all in there. We're going to close the Ziploc bag. We're going to give it a good shake. Get all of those pieces of steak nice and coated. Now while we're doing that, I've got my pan heating up and I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of some cooking oil. Get that nice and hot. You can tell that it is all coated. Now that our pan is super duper hot, we're going to make a nice layer in the pan. We may do this in batches. Brown this on all sides, give it a nice sear. It just takes a minute or so on one side. I'm just going to start moving it around. When you get it all nice and brown, we're going to remove it and place it into our crock pot. Then we'll do the second batch. All right, look at that. That's what you want to see in your soup. We're going to add the broth. I'm using 6 cups of beef broth. Worcestershire, about 1 tablespoon. Onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon. We'll stir this all together. Place a lid on. Cook this on low for about 7 to 8 hours, or you can cook it on high for about 3.5 to 4 hours. Ooh, look at that. Now I've tried a piece of the steak and it is very tender. Got my crock pot on a high setting. We're going to add in an 8-ounce package of egg white noodles. We're going to submerge these in. We're going to put the lid back on. And we're going to allow this to cook for 30 minutes. Oh, doesn't that look good? These noodles are cooked through nice and tender. Now I did add another 2 cups of broth in here to make it a little bit more soupy. Let's give this a try. Delicious. How to make a gnocchi and chicken soup. This is a copycat recipe from Olive Garden. We're going to start over here with a mise en place of celery, carrot, and onion. That's flavor. We're going to peel 3 carrots. We're going to cut off the ends. I'm just going to take my box grater and we're going to use the big side here and just start grating the carrots. Ooh, that's plenty right there. Take 2 celery ribs, slice these lengthwise a few times, and then we're just going to run our knife through. We're going to take half of a yellow onion. We're just going to run our knife through it. Big slices. Turn it around. Run your knife through. There's our mise en place. We're going to go ahead and add this to the bottom of our crock pot. Now I'm using a 6-quart slow cooker. It's the oval shaped one. Now I'm using some garlic cloves. We're going to be doing 2 of them. That'll add some delicious flavor. Just take the back edge of your knife, place it on top of the clove, and smash it down. And that'll help release the paper off of your garlic. Put them into my garlic press. We're gonna mince it in. Stock chicken. I'm using 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. Cut these into strips and then cut the strips into bite-sized pieces. What we're gonna do now is place our chicken in with the carrot, celery, and onions. Let's talk about seasonings. Poultry seasoning, 1 teaspoon, half a teaspoon or so of salt, some black pepper, about half a teaspoon. Now we need to give it some broth. Now I'm using Better Than Bouillon, and it's a condensed version of like broth. This is a roasted chicken flavor. It's going to add some deliciousness to this. When you make this, you want 4 teaspoons to 4 cups of hot water. Now I've already prepared it right here. Add that on top of all of our chicken and veggies and seasonings. Stir this all together. We're going to place the lid on. We're going to cook this on high about 2.5 to 3 hours, or you could cook it on low between 5 and 6 hours. Chicken is cooked through and nice and tender, so what we're going to do is stir in 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, cornstarch slurry, which is 1 tablespoon of the cornstarch and about a couple tablespoons of water. Add that, stir that in. We're going to add in 16 ounces of potato gnocchi. So we're going to break them in. We're going to place the lid back on. We're going to cook this on high for another 20-25 minutes. I'm talking about something amazing here, you guys. We're going to mix in spinach, 3 ounces. Crock pot is off, so we're just going to let that heat soften down the spinach. We've got some Parmesan cheese shredded. We're going to add in half a cup. Mix that in. Y'all grab a bowl. Here's your spoon. Sprinkle a little bit more Parmesan right on top. It's a nice little garnish. There's my bite. That gnocchi, it just kind of plumped up and it's kind of fluffy, absorbed those flavors. Delicious for sure. All right, you guys, it's soup day. Give me a thumbs up on this one. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below and that bell notification. That way you'll always know when shows like this one here are posted. I'll see y'all on the next episode.